are from Matthew chapter 22, 34 to 40, the greatest commandment. Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. One of them, an expert in the law, tested Jesus with this question. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Luke chapter 6, 31. From the Beatitude, the Sermon of the Mount. Do to others as you would have them do to you. John 14, chapter 30, 30 to 35. At the Last Supper. As soon as Judas had taken the bread, he went out, and it was night. Jesus said, my children, I will be with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and just as I told the Jews, so I tell you now, where I am going, you cannot come. A new commandment I give you. Love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. Because by this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Thanks be to God for his goodness.
What's the golden rule? What's the golden rule? Say that again.
Treat others like you want to.
Treat others as you want to be treated. One point to this side. Perfect. That's from Matthew, I believe. Matthew 7:11 from the Beatitudes. Treat others as you want to be treated. Do unto others as you would do unto them. That's a great thing. A lot of churches are built on that. Hi. Have fun. The second thing is when Jesus was asked by the Pharisees trying to trick him, they said, what's the greatest commandment? What did Jesus say? Love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And the second part of that was love your neighbor as yourself. These are two great things. Love your neighbor as yourself and treat others as you want to be treated. The Christianity, that's cornerstones of Christianity's, what Christianity is all about. And also what Islam and the Jewish people have, and Buddhism and everybody else has that exact same thought, which is a great thing to do. Treat others as you want to be treated and love your neighbors as yourself. I see a problem with those two, and I think Jesus did too. Now here's the problem I see with loving your neighbor as yourself and treating others as you want to be treated. I'm a guy. When I get sick, I want to go upstairs, get under the covers, get in bed, go under the covers, and stay there until they either get better or I die. Leave me alone, I'm sick. Every once in a while I'll moan, go away, I'm sick. But I want to be left totally alone, because that's what I want, because I'm a guy. Early in our marriage, my wife had a little bit of surgery and wasn't feeling well, so I treated her the way I would like to be treated. I left her alone. Apparently she didn't want to be left alone. Apparently she wanted me to bring her tea, to check on her, bring her food, bring her medication, because she didn't die. That took a couple of marriage counseling sessions to get that out, that she did not want to be treated as I wanted to be treated. She wanted to be treated as she wanted to be treated. Another example is we're lucky enough to have a garage, and we keep our cars in the garage. And when I need to do a project in the garage, because I'm a guy, I back my car up, and if it's a sunny day like today, I'll roll all the windows down. We actually roll windows down anymore. Roll windows, have all the windows out so the air, nice fresh air can blow through and clean out my car. Well, if I need a big project and I back my wife's car up, my son's car up, and I roll their windows down, They hate that. Apparently their car gets full of bugs, and it gets full of dust and full of pollen, and they hate having their windows rolled down. I hate having my windows up in the sun because the car gets hot and stuffy. But I had to learn, that only took 1 year of counseling, that to treat them the way they want to be treated. Just because I wanted the windows down doesn't mean that they wanted the windows down. Now I can go up to Walmart or Stop and Shop or Jerry's Meat Market and get a nice T-bone steak. Nice 1-inch T-bone steak and bring it to the grill and put it on the grill with some butter and some garlic butter and some salt and pepper, and I can sear it on one side and flip it over and sear it on the other side and get that smell and the nice sizzle on it. And I bread it on a nice beautiful plate with some parsley and give it to my son. My son's a vegetarian. I would love to have a T-bone steak medium rare. He does not want that. So I needed to learn to treat him and cook for him the way he wanted to be, treated, not the way I wanted to be treated. That didn't take any marriage lessons. Marriage compliment lessons. I figured that out. So that's the problem with that, is treating people not the way I want to be treated, but treat people the way they want to be treated. Now the second part of loving your neighbor as yourself sounds really good. The trouble I see with loving our neighbors as ourselves is, how many of us absolutely love and adore and totally 100% accept ourselves? Except for Ken. What?
That's
right. So, yeah, I don't look in the mirror every morning and say, oh, thank you, God. I am beautiful, I'm wonderful, you made a wonderful creation, I love everything about me and everything else. Oh, thank you, oh God. In the morning, I get up in the morning and look in the mirror and go, oh God, what were you thinking? What the heck happened? Huh? Yeah. And I have all of this internal judgment and self-criticism and denying of myself and everything else. And I don't love myself as much as I could, and a lot of us don't. And what happens is, I take that internal conversation of criticism and judgment, and not good enough, that I take, and then I do love my neighbor as I love myself. And I don't love myself very much. So then I can project this onto my neighbor going, how come he gets to do that? How come Ken gets to raise his hand and say he's a perfect? How come? So that's the problem, is that don't treat people the way that they want to be treated. I mean, that way I want to be treated. Treat them the way they want to be treated. And don't love your neighbor until, excuse me, there you go. Don't love your neighbor as yourself until you love yourself first. Now, I think Jesus saw the same problem with this, because Jesus, at the Last Supper, gave us a new commandment. At the Last Supper, after the Passover meal was finished, after the Holy Communion of the bread and the cup were given, after Judas had gone to go do his deed, Jesus stood up and said, I give you a new commandment. And this is the only commandment Jesus gave, the only one. And this is the only new commandment in the whole New Testament. And this was one of the last things he said to his disciples when they were all gathered together in the upper room before Jesus was taken away. Jesus stood up and said, I give you a new commandment, to love each other as I have loved you. To love each other as I have loved you. He said, to love each other as I have loved you. Because he saw that the other ones really weren't working. Now, how did Jesus love us? Because Jesus did love us. There's lots of examples in the Bible and stories of how Jesus loved the people he touched. So what are some of the ways Jesus showed his love for people?
He would clean other people's feet.
He'd clean other people's feet, exactly. Acts of service, he'd wash other people's feet. Terrific, thank you, Ed. What are some other, another point for this side?
He healed people.
He healed people, he gave them the gift of healing, yes.
Turn water into wine.
He turns water into wine. He's a good guy. Yes, I'll drink to that, yes.
And it was good wine.
And that was good wine.
It was not cheap.
Yes, it wasn't cheap, exactly, yes. He spent time with, he spent quality time with tax collectors and sinners.
He fed people.
He fed people, yes, he fed them, yep. He touched the untouchable, people, the lepers. Not only did he heal the people by touching them, but the lepers, which nobody, they were called the untouchables, you couldn't get anywhere near them, they wore belts around their neck. He literally touched them. So he touched the untouchables. So Jesus did all of these things to show his love. Now, one of the ways Jesus was able to do this was Jesus was treating his neighbors as himself. And Jesus was able to absolutely love and accept who he was. He was able to look into the mirror and know that he was the Son of God, a child of God. And he fully accepted that in all of his physicality and all of his spirituality. And he accepted what he was and what his mission was. So he loved and accepted who he was. And with that internal love and acceptance, he was able to project it onto everyone he met, and they all felt it. Now, that's how Jesus was able to love his neighbor as himself, because he truly loved himself and who he was, and accepted who he was. Now, the other thing is treating people the way they want to be treated, because Jesus didn't treat everybody the same way. He didn't heal everybody. He didn't change everybody's water into wine. That would have been interesting. So he did different things, and how he, like I said, some people he did acts of service, some people he physically touched that didn't think they would ever be touched, some people he gave words of encouragement for, some people he gave gifts, the gift of healing, and he spent quality time with the tax collectors and the sinners that nobody else would spend time with. So how are we able to love like Jesus and do those things? Well, I'm going to offer something today. There's a book that was written about 20 years ago. It's called The 5 Love Languages. Anybody who knows this book? Do you know this book? Very good. 2 points to this side. Very good. Yep. Equal points on both sides. Very good. 5 Love Languages. And this was written about 20 years ago by Gary Chapman, and he offers that there are different ways that people want to hear or be able to receive love for them. Very much like when I was giving my son the porterhouse, the T-bone steak. He didn't want that, so I had to figure out how he wants to see that is appreciated. Well, he breaks it down into 5 ways. Some people like acts of service. Some people like physical touch. Some people like to have encouraging words. Some people like to have gifts, small gifts, big gifts, to feel that they're loved and appreciated. And some people just like to have quality time, spending quality time with somebody. And learning those languages, very much like in Pentecost when they started speaking everybody's language so people could hear it. When you start talking, understanding somebody else's love language and be able to speak to them in that, then they can receive that love. Now, my top 2 love languages of the 5 is, mine is, remember one of those times your mind just goes blank? Okay. My number 1 is physical touch, which was really difficult during the pandemic, because it's like you can't touch anybody and everybody's on Zoom, and then my second one is quality time, which also on the pandemic was really tough for me to get my fill of love, to see that I was loved and appreciated. So that was a challenge. My lovely wife's, her number 1 is acts of service, and her second one is quality time. So since both her and my second were quality time, we were able to spend quality time together, so that helped fulfill it. My son's his number 1 is gifts, and his number 2 is words of encouragement. So if I keep touching my son, which is funny because I'll hug my son all the time, and he lets me because his bottom one is touch. He does not want to be touched or hugged or anything else, but my number 1 is, so he lets me hug him. Like, okay, Dad, are you done? Okay, okay, Dad, go away. So, but he'll look, because whenever I see him, I do hug him. Because I'm projecting the way I want to be loved, but I'm projecting I need that little feeling of touching my son. And inversely, I needed to remember, because my bottom one is gifts. I'm not a big one to get gifts. It's like, what do I do with this? So I don't think of gifts, but his number 1 is gifts, so I have to keep remembering When I go someplace, something to pick them up a little gift, it could be a rock, it could be a flower, it could be anything, baseball card, and give him that, and he goes, oh, that's how he feels appreciated. So that's how we do this, is talking in each other's languages. Now the question is how do we find out what somebody else's language is? Now, one way we can find out somebody else's language is be Jesus and just know. He's Jesus and just know. But if that doesn't work, then there's three things you can do. The first thing is you can listen. Listen to the words they use. If they use a lot of feeling words like, oh, we had a rough time getting there, we had smooth sailing, or I really like the feel of this, and they talk about the way things flowed and feel like that, they might be a feeling, touching person. So that's number one, is listen to the words they use and what they talk about. The second thing you do to find out someone's love language is to watch what they do. If they're always looking at shopping websites, or they're always going shopping, or they're buying gifts for other people, then they might be a gift person, that they want to have gifts, because we tend to do what we like onto other people. So, like, I keep hugging other people, and my wife tells me to stop that. So if you watch what they do, you may be able to figure out what they want, and then give that back to them. So the first one is to listen, the second one is to watch. What do you think the third one might be?
Ask.
Ask! Another point for Griffith. Yes, ask. Now, sit down and ask somebody what their love language is. Now, this may be an interesting conversation with somebody, because this isn't a well-known concept. So they may have no idea what you're talking about. But having this conversation will be some quality time together, and it will definitely deepen your relationship and your connection with that person, just to go through that, of finding out what their love language is. Because once you do that, then you can speak to them in that, when I realized my wife's was service, doing acts of service. I have my honey-do list, so that makes her happy. And when she asks me to do something, I realize she means now, not before I die. That's what I think. You have to remind me every 6 months. So that makes her happy, and I realize, oh, when I'm doing this, I'm just not crossing things off the list. I'm showing her that I love her. So that makes my life much better. So, very good. So remember that. So having this conversation with somebody is a very cool thing to do. And like I said, it's going to be interesting because there's not a lot of knowledge about this. And it could be a deep conversation. And a really good place to start this conversation is with yourself. Find out what your love languages are. Because once you find out what your love languages are, it took me a long time to figure out that my love language was touch and quality time. Because I had to go through this. Because what you can do, once you realize what your love languages are, then you can start fulfilling yourself and showing yourself love and looking for love that way. If it's touch, I now give a massage once in a while and some acupuncture to fulfill my touch things, and letting my wife know that she is now more touchy-feely affectionate to me. Very good, thank you. And so knowing that myself, you can fulfill yourself to love yourself more. Love yourself even more. And once you do that and start feeling yourself, loving yourself even more, then you can take that love and project it onto other people. One of the things my son does, because my son's top one is gifts, he signed up for a website that every 2.5 weeks send him a little gift in the mail. So he gets a little surprise gift in the mail. So he's making himself happy, just by fulfilling that love. So that's great for him. Now he feels more love, so now he can love himself and project that love onto his neighbors. So that's what you can do with that. Now the important thing is to find your own love language and then fill yourself up with love so you can love your neighbors, but find the other person's love language so that you can treat them as they want to be treated. Because I used to tend to do a lot of hugging and touching people, which some people don't like my son. And I realized, oh, I'm projecting what I wanted onto them. So as you do this, this is an incredibly powerful thing that once you find out your love language and the other person's love language, it will change your world. When you find out your love language and learn to love and accept who you are more fully and fill yourself up with love, then you can take that love and you will project it onto other people. So the new paraphrase is, love yourself first, and then love your neighbor as yourself. And the second thing is find out these love languages of the other people, of your friends and neighbor and family, so that you can love them the way they want to be loved, treat them the way they want to be treated. Now this is all wrapped up in Jesus' last words to us, and when he said, I give you a new commandment. Love each other as I have loved you. Love each other as I have loved you.